Hi friends, this is Reshma. Welcomes you once again to discuss a very simple and interesting topic in database. So, whenever a database is created with the help of different data models and with the data models, as we have discussed in previous session, we understood that the purpose of data model is the data abstraction. So, where the user can view the data, access the data from the database without knowing the detailed description of the data, like what is the logic used behind the data, what is the data type, which type of data models used to store the data, which type of file structures, which type of hardware device used to store the data. So without having the knowledge about that, users are able to view the data. And based on the type of users, data can be presented in different ways with the help of different application programs. So now to present the data to the user in different ways, database it will take the help of some interfaces so that user can feel very comfortable to access the data. So the way of representation will be so simple that any layman or any person who is not having knowledge about the database can also able to retrieve the data which is in need from the databases. For that, here we will study the types of interfaces which helps the users to retrieve the data. So we can say a database management system interface is a user interface which allows for the ability to input the queries to the database without the query language itself. No need to use the query language. Without query language, they can retrieve the data from the database. So because these are the interfaces, they by themselves procedure functions are the packages. So you can say the interfaces could be like any web client or it may local client which runs on, you can run on a desktop or any a mobile app. So nowadays, most of the interfaces they become handy. So means they can run on any mobile platform, either to access the data to the banking, to do some banking transaction like withdrawing the amount, depositing the amount, transferring the amount, or making use of the college database like to pay the fee, to check the result, to apply for the examination, to take the admission to the college. So everything will be done with the help of the mobile apps. So the database interface it is responsible for the following tasks. We can say it will connect and disconnect from the database. Whenever it is required, we can connect to the database and we can also disconnect. It helps to access the database tables, accessing the catalog information, control different transactions whenever they need, so they can roll back or they can commit the data. They involve in synchronizing the distributed data. So to do all these jobs, here we'll study some user-friendly interfaces. So like menu-based interface, apps for mobile devices, form-based interface, graphical user interface, natural language interface, keyword-based interfaces, speech input output interface for parametric users, and then separately for DBA. We'll see one by one. So here we'll just see some of the features of each of these interfaces. Let's start with menu-based interface. We can find the menu-based interfaces in all these day-to-day life activities. Like if you go for banking transaction ATM, it will display a menu of options, like whether you want to insert, deposit the amount, whether you want to withdraw the amount, whether you just want to check the balance. So it will display a list of menu. User, they can select any options and they can continue with the task. So you can say the menu based interfaces, they present the user a list of options or menus. So not only the ATM, if you go for like online shopping, if you select any site, immediately it will show which product you want to purchase. Whether you want to select the, again it will display like whether you, so once you decide the product, it will ask you whether you want to select or purchase the item which is more popular or which is more recent, whose cost may be from low to high or from high to low, which is more popular. So like this, it will display menus, sub menus. So any user can make use of this. So if you want to order any product item, you need not to write the query. You can just make use of these menus. You can just with the click, you can retrieve the data from the database. So that is here what the with the help of the menus, user can send the request. Like in banking, if you want to retrieve or if you want to withdraw the amount, just click on the option withdraw. So that is you are sending the request to the system as you want to withdraw the amount from your account. And here the benefit of this is you need not to write any command, you need not to type any query. So not only in banking, so whichever the real-time application you take, you can have the menu based interfaces. So the main benefit of this is it will reduce burden of remembering any specific commands. So no need to remember the commands or syntax of the query language. It will provide both pull down and pop-up menus. So this is the menu based interface. So then next most popular interface is the in the current era, which is the most popular one, that is apps for the mobile device. So now if you name any application, any task, you will find a plenty of apps for that a single task. If you take the banking transaction, so there you will get Google Pay, you will get Phone Pay. Earlier we had this. If you go for Andhra Bank, for any bank you name, each bank will be having a tie-up with the different apps. Similarly, if you want to book a bus, we are having Red Bus. So like this, if you want to book for a train, if you want to book for any movie ticket, if you want to order for some food, so if you want to perform any task, so in your mobile, you can install that app. So not only that, you can create your own app application, mobile application to perform any task. I can say mobile interface they required, but different from those of desktop computers. So that is that the smaller screen size and touch screen control create special consideration in this design. So, and in a mobile interface, symbols may be used more extensively and controls may be automatically hidden until accessed. And here the symbols themselves are smaller. So here, no, so it will not provide much space also for typing. So sometimes what happens here, whenever you want to make use of such application, sometimes because of the smaller screen of the mobile terminal, sometimes it may be difficult to type our requirements. It is difficult to post our request. So the same app we can nowadays, the same app we can use, sometimes we can use in our laptop or desktop also, which may reduce the problem of typing in your small mobile screen. So next we are having the third interface is form based interface. So these type of interfaces will be used if you want to send n number of requests at a time, if you want to send n number of responses at a time. In such cases, we need to go for form-based interfaces. So this is just like any application form, so which we will be sending, filling and submitting. So it will look like this. Assume that you want to purchase or you want to display details of a new book. So assume that you have maintained a library. So there you are maintaining online database of the library system, availability of the textbook, date of purchase, the price of the textbook, number of copies available. So then we can take, for example, this is one such example of a form. So that is in a form. So this will that is here in this type of interface, it will display a form to each user. So it is, so here users can fill out the form entries like to insert the new data, and sometimes they can fill out only certain entries in which, so if they don't want to fill some private information like password, or sometimes some may be asking like pin number, CVV number of the card, some secure data they can avoid filling. And these type of forms will be created for those users who are not expertise in the operating system. And many DBMS, they have form specification languages, which are special languages that help to specify such forms. So, so the next one is the graphical user interface. So this is the most popular interface used to retrieve the data from the database. And this GUI, this will allow users to interact with different devices using the icons or virtual indicators. So this mainly this GUI is created so because the command line interfaces were more complicated. So like if you compare Linux or Ubuntu interface with our Windows, if you go for Linux, there you need to type the commands. If you go for DOS, there you need to kind the commands. So we can't remember all the commands. So as there is a saying, so no one can become the perfect in Linux. Always they need to carry the handbook to type the commands. But if they are making use of the GUI based Windows, they can perform the task more quickly and easily compared to Linux. So because you remembering the commands using the command line interface is very complicated. So now again, if you see that today's time, the GUI are used in many devices like mobile, MP3 players, gaming, smartphones. Wherever you go, it will make use of the GUI interface. So here a sample example, a diagram which provide the position of GUI interface with respect to computer system. So now here this GUI it will be placed between the user and the display server. It will show that the user they can make use of different type of user interfaces to retrieve the data or to present the data. So then if you go for any GUI, it will have some elements. So like the most common elements are, the first one is the window to represent. So this element it will display information on the screen, and it is very easy to manipulate a window. That is, we can just with a click either we can open the window or we can close. We can easily move to any area by dragging it. So the window can be moved on the terminal, and it will perform multitasking environment. So that is, it will help us to open multiple windows at the same time, and each window can perform different tasks. So the multiple type of windows may be like a container window. So then I can have a browser window. So in some window I may be typing some data. Sometimes I will be making use of the window for messaging. So like that we can make open multiple windows at a time to perform different tasks. The next item is menu. So here in GUI it will also provide a menu which contain the list of choices. Users can select them. So and the menu bar is again it is horizontally across the screen, so that it will provide the pull down menu. So and we know another type of menu is the context menu that appear only when the user performs a specific task. Then another element will be like icon. So here for each icon there will be separate files or programs that can be represented using just a small icons on the terminal. So it will be available on the mobiles or also on the desktop systems. So such a diagrammatic small picture of a program is referred to as an icon. So this is a fast way to access any document. So now if you, for example, if you want to open a PowerPoint slide, then instead of following the complete procedure like going to file, going to program, then going to my files, then to PowerPoint. So we can have directly an icon on the terminal. Just by double clicking on that, we can perform the task. Then we'll be having different controls which will be used for the navigation. We can have the tabs associated with different view paints. So the tabs mainly they are used in various web browsers like during Internet Explorer, Firefox, etc. So that just with the help of the tabs, we can move from one part of the screen to another part. And whenever we'll be opening multiple pages, with the help of the tab, we can switch between one tab to the another tab. So like this, so many facilities will be available in the graphical user interface. Next type of interface is a natural language interface. We can see the diagram here. So then the natural language interface. So these type of interface, what they will do, they will accept the request in a written form. So which will be written in English or any other language, and it will attempt to understand that. So a natural language interface, it has its own schema, which is just similar to some database conceptual schema. So again, it will also refers to the words in its schema. So if the interpretation is successful, the interface it will generate a high level query corresponding to the natural language. Then it submit to the database for processing. So if it will not understand, so whatever the words or the language which is written, whatever this request you have submitted in the written form, it is not understood. So then it will send, it will display a dialog box and ask the users to clarify or provide another request. So, but here we have some disadvantages or limitations. So the main disadvantage is that the capabilities of this type of interfaces, these are not much advanced. So then next we have the interface to retrieve the data from the database using the speech. So nowadays we are making use of Alexa. So you might have seen what the advertisement, so where the person, a people person, whatever the data he need, he can just request through the voice. So here we can have speech input and output. So there is a limited use of speech, say for a query or an answer to the question, or being a result of a request, it is being in commonplace. Applications with limited vocabulary, such as inquiry of telephone directory, like flight arrival departure. So whenever you are waiting in the railway platform, so there you may be listening some announcements. So where they you'll use minimum vocabulary. That is the same sentence will be repeating, like the train from Bangalore to some particular Davangere. It may reach in platform number 1 in few seconds, in 5 minutes. So see, same type of sentences will be repeating. So here the requirement, the vocabulary will be very limited. In such cases, speech input and output will be working. And here this will be detected using some predefined works, which is used to set up the parameters that are supplied to the queries. So for output, the similar conversation from text or numbers into speech can take place. So but nowadays there are many applications, so where they are taking the help of speech as an input and giving the result as the output also. So now in Google search also, so no need to type whatever you want to search from the Google search engine. We can make use of speech input, which will give you the data more faster than typing and requesting, because while typing there may be some spelling mistake, it may give many options. But if you are giving the input to the voice, to the speech, so then no need to worry about the spelling which you are typing for searching. So the automatically search engine, it will recognize your voice and it will send a written request to the server. Then the server will send back you the response. So nowadays we can feel speech input output is much better than typing the request. Then we have keyword based interfaces. So now these keyword based interfaces are these are mainly meant for interacting with the PC or on a low abstraction level. So generally this type of menu is not intended for average users. So mostly this will be used by, so whenever just a natural language or the English language or the language which is used for communicating, which is not sufficient to interact with the system by the experts of the system, like the system administrators. So then they will take the help of these keyword based interfaces. So then they can carry out the services most efficiently. So if they want to communicate across the programs, better they should go for keyword based interfaces. So it is much easier to instruct the computer to run such a specific task or the command. So here there are some examples where we can make use of keyword based interfaces. So then there are special interfaces for the parametric users, and who are the parametric users that we have already discussed in my previous session. So like if you go for bank tellers, so the parametric users are those who have a small set of operations that they must perform repeatedly. Like if you go for ATM machine, to withdraw the amount, they might have written a program that will be running repeatedly. Like again, this is like some announcement. So like the system analysts and programmers, they design and implement a special interfaces for each known class of users. So these are like a small set of abbreviated commands are included here. So the goal is minimizing number of keystrokes required for each request. So whenever you are performing the same task repeatedly, instead of typing or instead of sending a longer request either in the form of a speech or typing or with the different interfaces which you are using, so there they will prepare a small icon or a small button or a small instruction will be written for that. With the help of just the single click on those instructions, so it can perform the task repeatedly. So this will be used mainly for the task which will be done by parametric users repeatedly. So for example here in the banking transaction, after every withdrawal or deposit, your bank account should be updated. Whether you are depositing whatever the amount you are depositing or withdrawing from the bank, so based on the fund available, it will be executing those instructions repeatedly. They need not to type the query again and again. Just by clicking on deposit, whatever the amount you are depositing, it will go to your account. Your balance will be updated properly. So these are the interfaces which will be used by parametric users. And there are some interfaces which are designed specially for DBA users. So that is, most database system contains some privileged commands that can be used only by DBA staff, database administrators. So that is, they include the commands for like creating the accounts, granting permission to the account holders, giving the authorization to the account holders, changing the authorization, like setting system parameters, or like reorganizing the storage structure of the database, changing the schema. So like these are very sensitive tasks. So here only the permission will be given only to the administrators of the particular database. In those cases, we will use a special type of interfaces. So this is one example. So now here the DBA, he has an author, they can make use of these type of interfaces which are specially designed for them. So here they can make use of these interfaces to create the user accounts, to give privileges to those accounts. So now whenever you want to, like if you are an engineering student, if you want to perform some specific lab related to database, so this is one such a example. So this is the interface used by the DBA. So here they will create accounts for all the students who are working or who are making use of these servers. They will give a specific username and password for each student or each user. Only the DBA will be having the authority to do that. Users, once they get the username and password, they can just use of those. They don't have ability to change any authorization. So these are the type of interfaces which are available to interact with the database. So here I have shared some of the points, some interesting interfaces of the database. I hope you got some knowledge about different type of interfaces, and to retrieve the data in the organization will make use of the last interface. And so based on the applications, users can make use of each of these application, whether menu based, app based, based on the time, based on the requirements, user will go with different interfaces. So like this deep database, it has provided so a certain lot, so many interfaces, user friendly interfaces. So again here this is just like reducing the burden on the users, like just giving, this is just like some abstraction, highlighted the different features. With the help of that you can extract any data which you want from the database without knowing the detailed structure and storage of the database data. So now try to get some more details about these interfaces and utilize these interfaces efficiently. Thank you. And to get next videos, it will be related to relational algebra. So there we will discuss which are the different relational algebra operations, how the data can be accessed using those relational algebra operations will be discussed. To get those sessions, if you are not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channels and keep watching and keep suggesting for improvement. Thank you.